It's your girl, Scrubby McScrew-around, and we're here staring out into the horizon from all my viewpoints because I made some ugly ass art today. No, really, it's absolutely ghastly, which is why I'll be filming like things other than just the redraw of this image today. Regardless though, I have something that I want to rant to you about because that's what this whole channel is about, right? And today I'll be sharing with y'all my latest discovered new secret to the perfect life in an optimal society. Yep, it's pigeons, or rather pigeon poop. And yes, you heard that right, because the secret to our societal success is all about pigeon poop and all their feces. Alright, now let me explain. Once upon a time, in a land and time, far and far away, almost as far away as the good old days, there were but so many pigeons extraordinaire. There were big pigeons, there were little pigeons, there were pigeons for meat and for messages, and even pigeons that looked nice. And do you know what every single one of those pigeons had in common?
Tell me!
Their poop. Healthy pigeon poop was known as guano, and this poop was very valuable. So valuable, in fact, that they even had guards appointed to it to stop it all from being stolen. It was used as fertilizer on all their gardens. It made everything grow 10 times the size, quite probably. Regardless of all the so, eventually times changed and people did too. The postal service was invented, and eventually the email. And because the pigeons weren't nearly so essential anymore, they became cast out into the cold, unforgiving world and this environment. No, really, that's what actually happened.
So where did they all end up then?
Well, Jesus, where do you think?
With no one to care for them, the pigeons had to survive in the only way they knew how. With nobody caring enough to rehabilitate them back to where they originally came from, they starved to death wild in the alleyways and the rooftops of our cities. They scavenged, eating everything they could. Food was scarce enough because the humans didn't want them anymore, meaning that they had to pick through the trash, quite often going without for days at a time. They bred because there was no one to care for them and look after them properly. They defecated because a lot of what they were eating was toxic, causing the bile to leach out of their bodies. They became the nuisance for what they're known for today because none of us had enough time to care. And that's literally what happened. I'm not even exaggerating at all. Because when do you even look at pigeon droppings? I know everyone gets all annoyed because they're constantly going everywhere and leaving a mess, but why do you think that is? Normal healthy bird feces don't look like that. That white yellow fluid that's leaving its mark on your cars and property, that's literally their stomach fluids. If a pigeon is eating a healthy, well-rounded meal that's not filled with parasites and stomach creatures, and that healthy meal is, seeds and grains, their natural diet, don't you think it would stand to reason that they would be passing solids too?
Okay, but what's your point, Sherlock?
My point is, that's literally Western society's way of dealing with everything, and look at how we've all ended up. They even tested it too, because guess what? It turns out when you make a proper little barn and put all the seeds and grains into it, you don't even have to hunt these pigeons down. They'll come right into the barn. Pigeons don't like suffering alone in the cold with nothing to eat. Give them a barn, replace all the eggs with fakes, and they don't even fly around as much, becoming a nuisance. In fact, they hardly even fly at all. The people who tried this out actually even calculated out the costs, and it cost them far less to proactively be treating this as an actual issue that needed to be remedied, rather than a pestilence and nuisance. The pigeons wouldn't even be multiplying either, because, you've swapped out all their eggs, versus the constant trapping, poisoning, modifying buildings with all those ugly large spikes, only for them to work around anyway, and then breed even more, because you trying to kill birds just opens up more nesting spots. We've even given ourselves hay fever, for goodness sakes, and yes, you heard that right too. Humans literally gave ourselves hay fever because apparently whoever plans the designs of all these cities decided that planting female fruit trees would cause an excess amount of fruits and seeds to be created, causing a mess, and ended up planting male trees instead. The only problem with that being all the male trees create pollen, which when you have an entire city's worth with everything, nothing but male trees, the human body can't handle all the pollen because, you know, it's not even being fertilised and it's not natural to be breathing in so much pollen in one setting into your lungs all the time. So then our bodies develop a sensitivity to it, which means that it gets even worse. And we literally do this with everything. Whether it's the homeless, all our stray animals, immigrants, freaking abandoned houses and people squatting in them, weed, you name it, we've done it. Heck, apparently that's also why the British invaders had such a hard time colonising and invading America. Because, you know, their first instinct was to try and burn down everything and plant their own invasive species, versus the First Nations people who had learned to nurture what was already growing there. And can't help but wonder, why do we have to make things so unnecessarily hard, you know? Why do we always have to treat everything else that's not our plan as an inconvenience and a problem, making it well over 10 times worse? Whatever happened to our humanity? If anyone finds some, humanity that is, not pigeon poop, could you all kindly consider sharing it around? Because I don't know what species we even are anymore, but it clearly ain't humane.
La! Don't forget to share this video with all your friends and family.